Hello everyone, my name is Christine or Loveaholic. In this channel, I like to share my love of art, the creative process, and the small joys in my daily life. And today I wanted to share with you an art piece that I like to call Fragile. It's been a long time since I made a finished art piece, and since I'm kind of a beginner artist, I take quite a bit long time to make a well thought out illustration like this, so I'm very proud about it. So right here, after I made a rough sketch of the composition and what kind of drawing I wanted to make, I put in a rough coloring layer right underneath so I can kind of just go for it and not think too much about, oh, which color palette goes with what, and not knowing what works in the piece, if that makes sense. So, and it's just nice to be able to jump right into something as opposed to pre-planning for a long time, because I tend to just plan forever. So after I do the rough coloring, I basically work in sections. Well, this is the portrait section, I believe. So I do the line art for that and kind of refine everything. I actually took a course on Domestica by Mochi Panko, and her course basically is guiding me throughout this whole process as I do this. But basically, she gave a tip to go back to the sketching layer and just refine the lines afterwards, but I like to put another layer over it because my sketches are really messy, and I tend to work better having a rough sketch and then putting a layer on top and then refining the lines a little bit, and it's still pretty sketchy but a little bit more refined, if that makes any sense. So I really highly recommend taking her course. I think it's very helpful. Now that I've kind of got the line art for this portrait portion of my illustration, I think I'm gonna go in and clean up my lines and just color it in a lot more neater, as opposed to like, just like a rough coloring and just like going outside the lines and everything. This is a good chance for me to just see how everything looks together when it's like nicely colored. I use the Clip Studio paint with the thick paint called Pointillism, and I use that for my base coloring, which is what I'm doing, or what I was doing until I moved to the hair. I actually jump back and forth between like coloring and like line art depending on my mood and just what I can work on at the moment. And for some reason, her left side of her hair was so easy to do, the right side was so hard to do. I feel like it's just real life in general. I think a lot of people can relate to having one side of the hair not cooperating and the other one is. So that's what's going on over here. And so after I do that, I like to go over the coloring to shade using another layer on top and multiply, and using a soft blur watercolor. I really love the way it looks as a blush. It just has this really cool, almost bloody kind of feel, which I don't know what that says about me, but I just really like the look on her like that, and I feel like it's appropriate for the piece too. Again, I'm gonna go over with more watercolor. Usually like I would do the same color, or I'll do kind of a little bit more of a red color for her areas where it's like more fleshed out. And this is the lacing, which took me a little less time than I thought I was gonna do. I have no rhyme or rhythm to what I do for ruffles. Is just a lot of observation, and I drew a lot of ruffles as practice, so I think that really translated over to this final piece, which is actually really cool. And I kind of like that it's not entirely accurate, it's just like a little bit accurate. Again, I'm gonna go in with some more what am I doing? Right, I was doing more lacing over here. So this is really unscripted, so it's kind of out of my comfort zone, so I apologize for any gaps in the middle of this, but I hope you're having a good time. I hope that you have a cozy drink. I'm having my green tea with me. I've been having an obsession with green tea at the moment. So grab your drink. I hope you're really enjoying this more casual kind of painting process with me. And so I'm moving on to the ribbon section of my background. And again, I'm using the pointillism paint, and then I'm gonna go in with the soft bleed watercolor and just put in the shading for that. And I'm so sorry if I'm not using the right terms for any of this. I'm actually pretty new in the digital art space. I'm actually a traditional watercolor artist, and that's kind of where my love for art kind of started and what I've been trying to improve on. So I've been only learning digital art for probably like less than a year, I would say. So I'm still learning new things. And I'm actually really proud of this heart that I drew, since as for those of you who don't know, I used to be a pre-med, and I used to draw a lot of diagrams to help me study, visualize the parts of the anatomy of the heart. And honestly, it was just an excuse for me to draw in my notes. So this was the easiest thing for me to draw. And now we're gonna move on to the scissors. And for the scissors, I had to use reference again. I wanted to use more of a surgical instrument, or have like a surgical instrument feel to it. So I think I got these medical scissors. I don't know if they're medical scissors, but they feel like medical scissors. They look like medical scissors in my eyes. We'll see. So right now I just did the rough sketch for it again because it was kind of crude. I didn't have reference for it. Sometimes when I'm doing my rough sketches, I don't want to be bogged down with too many references, because otherwise I'm just going to be searching all the time. So now that I'm actually working on the final line art, I finally found the reference. I put the rough sketch, and then I put on the final line art for it, and then adding some shadows and details in there before I again color with the pointillism paintbrush. And I don't think I shade this with watercolor because I just like the way it looked just as is. And I like to add the heart detail on it just for like a little personal touch, since I feel like this character has like little heart freckles and, you know, little tattoos or something. So I thought it really helped incorporate the piece together. And this part I was dreading the most, you guys, the webbing. I actually saw this art piece that I didn't personally see, but a friend of mine had posted online of her going, and it was like this web of red yarn, and I thought it was really, really beautiful, and I wanted to emulate that. And I happened to have a really fun time just like threading it together and just having arbitrary lines connecting together, and it was very, very therapeutic. I really, really love it. And I wanted the yarn to kind of symbolize part of her heart, so I added some blood to the snipped ends, and I actually really like that effect a lot. And I used the watercolor bleed brush and just like tapped it. So I'm just looking over everything and seeing if it looks okay. Excuse me, I'm burping up my tea, but I like the way it turned out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Happy creating!